What are the other systems that you've built? You've won a ton of scholarships. It's not just academic, by the way, right? You did very well in school. Okay, blah blah blah. What else? I mean, are there other things in terms of systems that you look at?
Well, what I thought was really interesting is I was getting lunch with a friend last week, and he had said something about me being a photographer, and I kind of laughed and was like, haha, I'm not a photographer. And he was like, what are you talking about? Of course you are. All of these people who are a part of this kind of the scholarship board that did decide to give me lots of money, that's all they talk about is that you're a photographer. And I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. I guess I did tell them that I was a photographer. And I did say it pretty strongly because as a high school student, it made me stand out, right? There were lots of people that had 4.0s in high school, lots of people with good SAT scores. So I had to do something above and beyond. So I, wrote an essay about photography and how it kind of related to my worldview. And I sent in slides with this application. And apparently it was very successful because they still talk about it despite the fact that I don't really consider myself a photographer, or at least it's not one of my dominant things. I do love photography, but it isn't like one of the 5 things I'd put down if I was talking about myself, which I guess is what you would refer to as branding, which is something I kind of did without really realizing there was a greater system involved. It's something I did kind of intuitively.
Yeah, you branded it, and I think what's also cool is that you don't feel guilty or bad that like, hey, I'm not a photographer anymore. Like that was in my past. And cool, like I did it, I'm done, now I'm on to bigger and better things. I think a lot of times we feel guilty that like, oh, I told someone that I was a photographer, so I need to keep up with photography, but I don't really like it, but I better do it because people think I'm a photographer. Well, you're like, all right, I did the photography thing, great, it was fun, it was rewarding, and now I'm doing other stuff, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. In high school, it was a really great outside activity. In college, there were lots of really great outside activities that were all of a sudden available to me, and I found out that I'm less passionate about photography than I am about human rights.
Got it.
And so, yeah, it was an interesting experience, though.